Chaverim. The month of Shvat, we're learning Leilui Nishmas Levi ben Yosef, Bas Yefiga, Bas Yisro, and Leilui Nishmas Shimon ben Moshe, Tzvi ben Mordechai, and today is the Yahrzeit of Shira Rachma, Bas Rav Alter Naaseh Nata, Tehen Nishmas Tzura B'Tzura L'Chaim. We're learning also anonymously for the Rav Shlomo, sponsored anonymously for the Rav Shlomo of Sarah Bas Rachel Feiga, Malka Elka Bas Pero, Shoshana Yona Bas Edel, Hila Bat Ilana, and Yisrael ben Adina. Today is sponsored by Spaith, Nagel and O'Brien families in memory of Moshe Yitzchak ben Tzvi Halevi. I think it's Hershey's Saba, if I remember correctly. Zaidi. It's a very special year that I had the privilege of getting to meet a few times. Okay, so today, Be'ez Hashem, a very beautiful, strong piece. This is an exciting piece. It has to do with this Parshas Yitro. There's so much going on. So overwhelming. It's Kabbalah Torah, and so much more. All the details before and after Kabbalah Torah. But I think that today, how we're going to be learning it is going to expand our understanding and our consciousness as to what type of a person did Hashem give the Torah to. What needed to happen in order for people to be able to receive the Torah? What needed to happen? What type of a person needed to show up at Har Sinai? This is a beautiful way that Reb Shlomo is going to show to us. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing, but at least we'll give it a good shot over here. You're all very familiar with the whole story, the whole shaila that Chazal have as to the night before Matan Torah, the night before Har Sinai, the night before. What's that?
Oh, I was just wondering.
One page. But you're all very familiar with the famous question as to what were Am Yisrael doing the night before we received the Torah? It seems like we were shluffing, and everyone's trying to figure out how that could be. How could that be? The Rebbe has an amazing mahalach, Lubavitch Rebbe has an amazing mahalach on this that we've learned in the past. It's very special. There are a lot of different ways of understanding it. But the way we're going to see it today, doresh harbe omek balev. It demands a lot of depth in the heart, because ze lo ishtana, it didn't change. What happened the night before we received the Torah, who we were, what kind of people we were, and what we are now, ze oto inyan bidiyuk. The Torah, I just want to say like this on the outside of the text. The Torah was given for such a deeper reason than having laws and having a derech of life. The Torah was given to completely transform who we are. Literally to transform who we are. And we're still working on making sure that we're receiving the Torah properly. So this is obviously very much like a Shavuos kind of a teaching, because Shavuos is that when we celebrate the actual giving of the Torah, the receiving of the Torah. But we all know that whenever we read these Parshas, so these Kedusha of the Moadim, like we said a few weeks ago about Pesach, they pop up also. So the light of Shavuos is in the air as well. So it's very demanding, this Torah. It's a pretty demanding piece, but it's worthwhile, right? Vayotze Moshe es ha'am likras ha'elokim min ha'machne. So this Pasuk is a Pasuk that if you learn Parshat Yitro, this is not one of the Psukim that stand out. Like if I asked you, tell me an amazing Pasuk that you have a lot of Divrei Torah on for Parshas Yisro. No, what would you say? Give me a few Psukim. Vayishma Yisro. The Drushas on Vayishma Yisro.
Take care of the traits. Yitro told Moshe, when you appoint the judges.
The Parsha that Yitro ve'ata techze, nachon? Or Anochi. Vayichad Yitro. Atem tilnechon. Is that's already also in this Parsha, right? There's a lot of different things. Lo ta'aseh lecha pesa, like, but Vayotze Moshe et ha'am likrat ha'elokim min ha'machaneh tzarich iyun gadol. What word here is the most important word, I think, in this pasuk? Think about it for a second. Likrat yachol liot? Could be. What else could be? Vayotze. Why? What's the lashon of Vayotze? What's the diuk? What's the diuk of the word Vayotze, the way that it's spelled over here? Well, it's very much related to a pasuk that Moshe Rabbeinu, that the Torah uses after Kriyas Yamsuf. It doesn't say Vayisa Moshe. What is the lashon there? Vayasa Moshe. What's the lashon? I'm doing a little bit of ulpan this morning. Don't throw a chair at me. Vayotze, Vayasa. What does that mean? That Vayasa Moshe is that they wanted to stay there by tripping off the miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf. Vayasa Moshe is that he had to kind of forcefully make sure the show kept on going. Vayotze Moshe. What could have it said? Vayotzi Moshe et ha'am likrat ha'elokim min ha'machaneh. Ma ze Vayotze? So Vayotze is this inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu had to kind of schlep people out of bed. Likrat ha'elokim, to meet the Ribbon Shleim. I mean, they had to go out of the Machaneh towards the Har. So Tomeret, the Am, it's themselves, were not sure if they were worthy to actually stand at Har Sinai. And there's a lot of reasons for this.
Well, Ha'am is Lashon Erev Rav also, right?
Gamken is a drush on that, nachon. So it's interesting. Erev Rav had no problem believing that they were ra'ui, that they were suitable. They were fine. Actually, Erev Rav is like, if there's anyone more mat'im for them to receive the Torah, it's me. But because they were mit'arbev with the Am, maybe that's what's going on over here. Okay, so now let's look inside. Sorry?
Isn't it like something to do with, like, would it make sense, like the Yisro Hara was keeping everybody down because of how high they could have gotten from this? Like, that's why they just literally went to sleep?
Chidushei Reb Zev Yonason, could be. Balayla lifnei sheshamanu et kol Hashem. The night before we heard the voice of Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu alach lachol bayit ve'otzi otam be'atzmo lahar Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu is coming to your tent, to each tent, and he's saying, you know that whole thing that we've been preparing for? Where are you? Like, come. You have to come too. It's very strange. Nishma muzar. Yatzanu mitzrayim sounds pretty weird. Yatzanu mitzrayim. Alachnu b'midbar mipesach ad chag hashvuos bishvil oto boker miyuchad. We've been traveling for a while now, since we left Egypt, for this great morning. Ha'im lo kulam yadu she'akadosh baruch hu yedaber itanu beoto yom lifnei alas hashachar? What, we didn't know that was we didn't know that was going to be? We forgot about that? It's something like we miscalculate days, but not over here. We miscalculate days a little bit later, not over here. Here there's no miscalculation. Here there's something else going on. What's happening over here? Im yadanu et loach hazmanim, if we knew the schedule, madua haya Moshe Rabbeinu tzarich lelechet lechol bayit? Why did he have to, Vayotze Moshe? Why does he have to go to every home? Yesh tshuva shel Rebbe HaKadosh Alexander. This is one shita we learned once. הוא אומר, כשאתה תלמידו של משה רבינו, אתה פתאום רואה כמה כולם יפים. When you're a Talmud of Moshe Rabbeinu, what you are zoche to is to suddenly realize how much everyone else is so beautiful and holy. Which is, Alexander Rebbe is saying that Moshe Rabbeinu, they were Talmidim of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that when he's appointed to be the leader, what is his response to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What does he say to Hashem? What's his knee-jerk reaction?
I'm not kidding.
Choose Aaron. The Midrash says he also said, choose Eliyahu Hanavi. But he was arguing, the Midrash says, for a week with Hashem, everyone else is so beautiful, they should be chosen. So the Alexander Rebbe is saying over here, and we're not getting too into this right now, a little bit later we will, that the Yidden that reached a beautiful level of becoming Talmidim of Moshe Rabbeinu that night before Har Sinai. And the night before Har Sinai, what did they think?
They're not right.
That everyone else, even if they're right, there are more people that are much more right, that are much more suitable, that it's shaykh much more for them. They're so much more beautiful. They noticed and saw beauty. They became Talmidim of Moshe Rabbeinu. You notice beauty in everyone else. Ulam, however, השלב הזה, שהופכים לתלמידיו של משה רבנו, מתרחש רק כאן על יד הר סיני. But this could have only happened, that they become people that notice beauty of other people. It only happened over here. It didn't happen until now. When we were leaving Mitzrayim, no one had any Indian of saying, oh, no, they're really worthy to leave Mitzrayim. I'm not. It's only over here that they became people that were like students of Moshe Rabbeinu that noticed other people's beauty and holiness. Only over here, Le'ad Har Sinai. Something happened only over here. It wasn't before. So now Reb Shlomo asks, Ma mashma'ut shel liot echad mitalmidav shel Moshe? What does it actually mean to be a Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu? So he goes back to what we just brought up. Kasher HaKadosh Baruch Hu omer leMoshe, ani rotzeh shetotzi et Am Yisrael miMitzrayim. When Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to take Yidden out of Mitzrayim, I want you to be the one to lead it. Moshe התווכח במשך שבוע שלם. Moshe אמר, אני חושב שאהרון טוב יותר. ולדעת אחרים הוא אמר, אליהו הנביא יותר טוב. And there's one other day in the Midrash that says, HaMashiach מתאים יותר לתפקיד. This is a Mashiach thing, the Mashiach, the Melech HaMashiach, it's him. He should be the one to take Yidden out of Mitzrayim. הוא התווכח, he's arguing. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר, לא, אתה זה שצריך לעשות את זה. But God's not into this argument. He says, no, you're the one. מה קרה כאן? כיצד יכול היה משה לנסות לשכנע את הקדוש ברוך הוא שמישהו אחר צריך לעשות את העבודה? How did we get to a situation that Moshe Rabbeinu, in his first exchange with God, his first exchange with God is him trying to convince God to change his mind. You ever think about that? Moshe Rabbeinu's first encounter with the Ribono Shel Olam is not, I am your servant, I will do whatever you say to me. Moshe Rabbeinu's first exchange with the Ribono Shel Olam is, without saying it, he's like, I think maybe you're making a mistake.
That's what Hashem says very far off. It was like super.
There's a lot of even though okay, Moshe, I see your humility and all that, it's why I chose you, but Atkan.
Sorry, why is this the first and not by the sneh?
No, by the sneh.
This is by
This is by the sneh.
Uh-huh.
This is by the sneh. Everything that's happening over here is by the burning bush. This whole paragraph.
Wasn't that early?
No, this whole thing of Moshe Rabbeinu talking to Hashem, trying to convince him to send someone else.
Wasn't that a few Parshat ago?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure. But the
Over.
scene is we're learning about the first exchange. We're going to contrast it to here. You'll see in a second.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting thing. Moshe Rabbeinu, this is what you're busy doing, the first exchange with the Ribono Shel Olam. We don't think like this. We have Moshe Rabbeinu, the tzaddik who never, Chalila, whatever. How could you ever imagine Moshe Rabbeinu telling God that maybe he's wrong? Moshe Rabbeinu, are you crazy? But what is he doing over here? He's basically telling the Ribono Shel Olam, he's not saying you're wrong, but he's saying there are better people for the job. They really are, and he really believed that. He wasn't trying to be a cop-out. He wasn't trying to run away. He was just looking at what he thought was the emet of emet and said, for this role of taking people out of Egypt and not being slaves, you need someone much holier than me. Pashut. So how could he have gotten to this conclusion that that's how he should talk to Hashem? Pashut. Moshe Rabbeinu badak וראה שיש אנשים שיכולים לעשות את העבודה טוב יותר ממנו. He wasn't even trying to be too humble. He was just saying, the way that I see things, there are better people. There are people that are more suitable
That is
for the job.
That's a Ramchal's definition of humility. Is that if somebody else was given the same set of talents and skills, they would do it better.
That's what Moshe Rabbeinu kept on saying to Hashem. But there's also a place where it could become the absolute anti of that.
The pure self-deprecation.
It could, meaning it could. Not that it did, but there's a way to understand this as Moshe. Because if it was just like the tachlis of anava, then Hashem would have said, he maybe would have said, you're right, and I'm keeping this parsha in the Torah to teach people for generations and generations to come that you should always look to find people that are more suitable for the job. But that's not the end of that story, and it's not. And I don't want to get stuck here because this is just peeking in to what the point of what he's going to say over here, because now he's contrasting it to Har Sinai. Az achshav ha'she'ela hi, but now the question is like this. כאשר הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר למשה לעלות להר סיני כדי לתת לו את התורה, משה לא מתווכח. Interesting. Hashem says, come עלה אליי ההרה. Come to the mountain, receive the Torah. No, Hashem, please send Aaron, send Hur, send Yeshua, send the Skenim. He doesn't, there's no one, he's not, you notice that. He comes to Har Sinai, he goes up. There's no like, I don't know, Hashem, maybe there's someone more suitable for the job. Har Sneh, like with the burning bush, Aaron, Eliyahu, Mashiach. To receive the Torah, I'm coming right up. Let's understand. There's 6 hands up right now. I can't take anybody. You guys don't realize it. I can't take anything right now. Let's just keep on going strong for a few minutes, and then we could take questions. It's not questions. Everyone has a lot to add over here. I know. We'll get there. Okay. מדוע לא התחיל לנסות לשכנע את הקדוש ברוך הוא לתת את התורה באמצעות מישהו אחר? So why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu do the same thing? So now this is all a prep for us to understand why we're learning this piece today, right? I remember that when I was transcribing this piece, the first time I heard the words and I put it into I was typing it. These are one of the pieces where you had to stop every few minutes and breathe, because the flow of consciousness that was coming down was Reb Shlomo tying together so many different Rebbes. So many different sources, so many different Rishonim and Achronim. It was all coming together. So this is like, we're learning it like this. This is like a very powerful Tnuat HaNefesh, right? Very powerful movement of the soul. So stay with every word. Ma siman arishon shel Eved, the first sign of a slave. Eved moded umechashev kama hu choshev shu mesugal la'asot. A slave is someone who measures and calculates how much he could do based on how much he thinks that he can do. Okay, you need Rashi on that?
Yes.
You need some Rashis on this. Okay.
He limits himself.
Huh?
Misugal.
Either he limits himself or he doesn't limit it, meaning the way that he functions in the world is based on how I see myself. I can only do this much learning. I can only function if I have this much sleep. I can only speak to this amount of people. I can only fill in the blank. It's a slave mentality. It's a slave mentality. It's a galut mentality. It's a slave mentality where I'm in the parsha of medidah, of measuring all the time. Based on how much I think I know myself, I measure my capabilities. So, Razil, I'm going to go back to what you said. It is limiting even if you say that you can do a lot. Because the moment you say, I can do a lot, but not more, that's also limiting. Yafeh meod. Very good. Now let me ask you, chevra. Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. Stam, I'm jumping out of the text now just because it's so clear. Am Yisrael comes back to Eretz Yisrael after 2,000 years, right? In the beginning, maybe, there was this like non-slave mentality of like, wow, what we could do.
Yeah, anything's possible.
And anything's possible. The measuring starts kicking in, the calculation starts kicking in, Hashem Yirachim. It's a Beit Avadim. And what's the first thing Hashem tells us in Har Sinai? What's the Anochi Hashem Elokecha? Finish the Pasuk. Asher tzitzicha me'eretz Mitzrayim mi Beit Avadim. I took you out of Egypt for a very important reason. I took you out of Egypt in order to make you a people that stop measuring and calculating how much you think you're capable of doing. That's a Beit Avadim. Look back inside. Again, מה הסימן הראשון של עבד? עבד מודד ומחשב, he calculates כמה הוא חושב שהוא מסוגל לעשות. You can be a parent like this. I can only be with, I know myself. To be a good father, I know I can only spend this much time with my children. Hatzlacha to the wife of a person that thinks like that. Hatzlacha to children that have to grow up in a house like that. That's a Beit Avadim. Children grow up in a mamish, a Beit Avadim. I'm not saying don't go for your vacation, afuch. Go for your vacations, get recharged in order to keep on being Ein Sof. But to be stuck in this concept of I'm only able to do this much is always bringing you back to Mitzrayim. And the Torah, Hashem, the first thing Hashem tells us, before any mitzvahs, before halacha, He's telling us, I took you out of a place called a Beit Avadim. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
I'm giving you your potential, quit disqualifying your potential. That's who you are. That's how you hear it.
I'm giving you your potential, but potential also has a limit energy to it, right? Even the word potential, like in Parshas Noach, Reb Shlomo says the difference between Noach and Avram Avinu is that Noach realized that Noach thought that reaching your potential is the greatest thing in the world. Alavai, we should all reach our potentials, and that's the way the Western world tells us. Avram Avinu realized it's about reaching beyond my potential. So I hear what you're saying. I'm giving you a beyond your potential reality to live in. Choose it.
But once you
Choose
reach
it.
that point, that's also limited because you think that you're at the point that you're.
It's not limiting because it's Ein Sof. It never ends. There is no, it's a game. Because whatever you thought it was, once you get there, you realize, מה פתאום? יש כאן יותר מזה. יש כאן יותר מזה. יש כאן יותר מזה. פשוט. גלות, second line on the bottom paragraph. גלות היא כל כולה עוסקת בחישובים. Galus is busy, is a mind that's busy with calculations. אתם יודעים מה זה אדם חופשי? What's a free person? חופש זה לא אני יכול לעשות מה שאני רוצה. A free person is not I can do whatever I want. להיות חופשי פירושו שכל מה שאני עושה, אני לא מודד. אני לא מודד בכלל. Do you understand the difference? Razi, I'll say it.
Like you're not measuring everything. When you're in the moment, you're not like judging it and analyzing it and thereby limiting it.
And also deciphering its success
Right.
rate or
Right.
you're not אתה לא שמה. You're not in that game.
It's all bittul.
It's all you're not in that game. You're a free person. So it's not I'm free now, out of Beit Avadim. Now I can do whatever I want. 1972, famous concert, Sinai Temple in Los Angeles. 1972, day before Yom Ha'atzmaut, Reb Shlomo was benching Sfira Somer on stage. And it's one of the most powerful evenings I ever heard. Also because I'm from there, so I know that place. So I could envision it, and there were Yogi Baijan was in the audience. It was a far out night, mamish far out night. Reb Shlomo was benching Sfira Somer, and he first says it in Hebrew, and then he says it in English. And when he says it in English, he says, "Today is such and such days that God made us free, not free to do whatever I want, free to serve God without anyone telling me that I'm capable of reaching so-and-so. Freedom, I forgot the Lashon. He enhances in such a profound way what the musag of chofesh is. Here he's saying, chofesh, we didn't leave slavery to do whatever we want. We became free from the way that we function and the way that we think. We stopped thinking like slaves. Yeah?
Because we're leaving a servitude of Mitzrayim and we're now serving Hashem, but Hashem is infinite. So the capability of somebody who's serving Hashem is infinite, is I think what it's saying.
בהחלט.
Eved and Oved, right?
Sorry?
Difference between Eved and Oved.
That's very good. So Eved Hashem means something that I did. Oved Hashem is I can't tell you what I did because I'm still doing it, and I don't know how deep this is gonna. I have no idea how far this is gonna go. Nachon. Im mishu, third line from the bottom. This is such a classic way of him speaking such deep concepts. Im mishu מתקשר אליי ואומר, אתה יכול לעשות לי טובה? העבד עונה, אתה באמת צריך שאני אעשה את זה? אני לא חושב שאני יכול לעשות את זה, אתה בטוח? Right? You call a friend and ask him for a favor. And if he calls back, he says, are you sure? You sure you need me to do this? Okay, maybe. I don't know if I can. He's saying that's how a slave answers. אז אתה אומר, לא משנה. אני אמצא מישהו אחר, I'll find someone else. וכשאתה מבקש טובה מאדם חופשי, but when you ask a favor from a person that's free, הוא אומר, אני לא יודע אם אני יכול לעשות את זה, אבל למי אכפת? אני אעשה את זה. The way he says it here is gewalt. He says, when you ask a free person for a favor, it's not that he knows how to do it. He doesn't know if he's capable of doing it. He's saying, I don't know if I can do it, but who cares? I'm going to do it.
It's like chofesh is the same word as chipesh, to search. So he's like searching for, see if he can do it or not. He's going to do it. He's not going to say, I can't.
He's going to do it. Will he end up doing it? More probable than the person that's wondering if he can do it, yeah? And, listen, let's be real. A chayal that goes out to this day krav, okay? So of course they have to be chadur motivatzia metorefet. That means that they have to be completely, filled and immersed with motivation, tremendous motivation. Do they know if they're able to end up doing the tasks that are at hand? So they have all the pep talks and all the, the psychological aspect of what a chayal needs, right? But the chayal doesn't sit there in calculations. He trusts based on the information given to him by higher command or by intelligence that this is what needs to be done and that they have to do it. And then they go and they do it. But a chayal is a free person. He's saying, can I do it? I don't know, but of course I'm going to do it. Right? I don't know. Lo yeda. Sometimes people get stuck in the parsha of marriage before they get married, and it's all cheshbonos. I don't know. Could I do this? Could I live with this person? Like, could I actually do it or not? A free person says, could I? Listen, I have no idea, but I'm going to. I'm going to. The person that says, I could, that's also a limit. Because you're saying you know what you're capable of doing. Chofshi is, I don't know. Listen, person stands. I always think about gerim. I see these videos sometimes that the army sends out when you ever see the videos the army sends out of these gerim and gerot? And
התרגשות.
The what?
התרגשות.
זה משהו מדהים. When they say Shema Yisro and the bawling, the tears, it's mashu. You have to see some of these videos. They're really, really incredible. So I always think about this, that if you ask them at that moment, because they're supposed to be, and you have to ask them, are you makabel on yourself, everything, right? Do they really think they're capable of now keeping all of Torah and mitzvahs? Right, so we have this sarcasm with it. When I wake up in the morning, do I think that from 45 years, that I'm able to keep all the Torah and mitzvahs? That I can understand it all? That I could figure it all out? No. But what gets me going? Because Hashem spoke to me at Har Sinai, and He told me, I plucked you out of a Beit Avadim. I plucked you out of a limiting way of thinking, a limiting way of breathing, a limiting way of planning. It all goes back to the first Pasuk, everything. And that's why I want every person in here to think about the Beit Avadim that you may still be stuck in terms of what you think you're capable of doing, who you think you're capable of being. There's so many people that haven't moved to Eretz Yisrael, but from that exact space of Beit Avadim, but it's wrapped around Ki'ilu, it's with the holiest of reasons, right? So that, Zovotam, forget them. Not forget them, but they're not the topic here. Topic here is here, us, Yidden that moved here, that are living here. What are we capable of doing? Who are we capable of being? Parshas Yisro comes to remind us, Hashem gave you the Torah to take you out of cheshboning out how holy you think you can be and how much you're capable of accomplishing or not accomplishing. Zeh kol galut. That's all Mitzrayim. That's Beit Avadim.
And I'm saying ultimately, once they went through this process of the Moshe schlepping them out to Kula and Har Sinai, that's what they said, Naaseh v'nishma. Before, without even knowing what they were signing up to do, they said, we'll do it.
That was the proof. That was the gushpanka. Chazal say that when they said that, that was basically Hashem Yisbarach hearing from them, I'm in for what you're, for this real purpose. Because Naaseh v'nishma can only be said by people that realize that they were really taken out of a Beit Avadim. An Eved could never say that.
You first have to hear what his job was.
An Eved can never say that. Ever. Never. He can never say such a word. He would say, Nishma ulai nishma ve'ulai niyaseh. But Naaseh v'nishma is the most cheruzdika answer that a person could ever say. The world looks at that answer and says, oh, what fools. They don't even know what they signed up for. The Torah says, what Yidden, what Bnei, and what human beings, how much they understand the point of Yetzias Mitzrayim and the point of the giving of the Torah.
You have to overcome the fear of failure almost on some level, because it's like when he says aval lemiach pat, that to me speaks of like, it's like he's not saying I'll do this and I'll
succeed, right?
I'll do it, and like, what's the worst that happens?
Well, but you have to say that to yourself. Forget about what other people will say about your possible failure. And if I fail?
Yeah.
If I fail, yeah, great. At least I know. I watched, I say this usually in Elul, but I feel like it's popping up in the air right now, that movie. The one movie I've ever recommended to watch. Die Hard 2. No, I'm kidding. The one movie I ever recommended to watch was called, Defending Your Life, I think it's called, right? Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks. There's a mahalach in this movie about a person that I'm not going to ruin it because you should watch it, but basically realizing that in the Shamayim they only judge you based on how much did you live your life in fear or not. That's the whole mahalach. That's the whole mahalach of how they, according to that shita, right? Albert Brooks is a Yid, so I'm sure the producers were Yid, and I'm sure there was something going on there that was pretty special. But that's exactly what it is. Lemi ichpat, even me, even ani, lemi ichpat, who cares, right? Now, listen to this. This is unbelievable. This next line, כשהקדוש ברוך הוא אומר למשה, תוריד את התורה מהשמיים, come up to heaven, bless you, and bring the Torah down from heaven, hu lo madad. He didn't measure. He didn't calculate if he's capable or not, like we said before. Lama lo? Why didn't he? Ki hayinu mamash michutz leMitzrayim, because we were out of Egypt. Now, where did the sneh take place? Does anyone know?
On Har Sinai.
It is an interesting thing. The sneh, according to the Midrash, the burning bush, took place on Har Sinai. What's the difference? The same location, but Yidden were still in Mitzrayim, and Moshe Rabbeinu was so connected to the neshamas of Am Yisrael that he was not able to take himself out of that headspace and be in the same exact place where Hashem says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Same exact location, but because we were still in Egypt. The Am, the people, the brothers, the sisters. The Am was still in Egypt. Zu הקדושה של Moshe Rabbeinu. הקדושה של מנהיג שהפך לחופשי. Moshe Rabbeinu's whole inyan is the holiness of a manhig that became free. Now we do know that Moshe Rabbeinu had to experience this on a personal level as well. Because Moshe Rabbeinu's, one of his claims to Hashem as to why he shouldn't be the person to do this is because of a calculated limitation. Which one was that? Speech impediment. What's the last sefer of the Torah called? Yeah, who's Dvarim? 37 days Moshe Rabbeinu is giving over his speech. the Torah itself is a living proof of what we just said over here. Because Moshe Rabbeinu's whole cheshbon is, I can't talk.
This Torah was from Moshe.
Huh?
This Torah was just from Moshe.
So you're bringing up something about. Listen to what Yisro is saying. There are certain Torah that you could really learn them as if they're just for Moshe Rabbeinu. Certain mitzvahs even, that in the pnimius sheba pnimius, it's just for Moshe Rabbeinu. This could totally be one of them. There's another one. It comes in Parshas Bo. The Torah commands Am Yisrael to tell your children every year what happened in Yetzias Mitzrayim. V'igata lebincha bayomahu. The Shaila, it's this famous Malbim, I think, and the Maharal speaks about this. There's another Mahal, who says it? I forgot right now. The question is, the second year of leaving Mitzrayim, after we left Mitzrayim, right? After we left Mitzrayim, is there a mitzvah of chiyuv to tell your children? They were all there. They saw it with their own eyes. The only kids that weren't there were Moshe Rabbeinu's children. They only came afterwards. They were still in Midian, right? Right? Gershom and Eliezer were not there. It means that Hashem made a whole Torah, a whole mitzvah, really, because Moshe Rabbeinu had to be Yotze Yidei Chiyuv Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim the first year, because it was only the Rabbeinu household that didn't have the live experience. It's an unbelievable thing.
It's to make up for the mitzvah that he couldn't do.
יכול להיות.
Could Moshe have possibly said, I'm not the right man, because he knew that he's not going to go to Israel, so like, how could he leave Jewish people home if he can't go home?
Wow.
But it doesn't say. It says explicitly that he didn't know.
Yeah, but he's Moshe Rabbeinu.
Right.
He didn't know the way that we don't know, but on the emes, did he know? Like, that's a very, very, very powerful Torah. I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to sit with that. Yeah, that's very strong what you just said. Did anyone ever hear that kasha before?
No.
Shamata Zipam?
No. Aaron also didn't go. I think it wasn't just that it was a doubtful. I think he didn't understand the job. When you have a preconceived notion of what the job really is, you think you may not fit. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has
Please talk louder so everyone can hear.
Baruch Hu has plans that we don't understand.
For sure.
The fullness of the plan. So Moshe could be that Moshe Rabbeinu, what I think at least, they didn't understand the plan. They didn't understand the job. And Hashem is telling him, no.
Could be, but what Ari brought up is it doesn't negate what you're saying at all. It's a very deep Inyan. It's a very, very, it could be, listen, these things, to understand Bichlal, how Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't agree right away to what God says the first time God reveals himself to him, Bichlal, just that, is crazy. But it's so deep, it's telling us...
It's like, why are you asking me to pitch in the first inning if you already know the Chatchila, I'm not going to be able to...
That's what Ari's saying, Ari's saying, yeah.
I don't think it's...
Because he's a starter.
There's any in there because the people he suggests don't go to Israel either. I want them to go to Israel. Okay. So it's like it's...
Al pi nachon, al pi apshat hazeh, it wouldn't add up. Not everyone says that's the reason though.
Maybe it has to do with like, and we've spoken about this.
Yeah.
That I don't think it's false humility. It's like real humility. Moshe Rabbeinu standing at the sneh the first time and he's saying, "I'm not the right guy for the job," because he really thinks that there are other people better suited. But then
Right.
Hashem says, "No, you are the right guy for the job." And Moshe says, "Okay," and he eases into, "Well, I am the right guy for the job. Hashem said so, so my shoulders now can handle that," and he's already accepted that, and there's no more arguing. It's like he goes up to Har Sinai to accept the Torah without argument, without back and forth, because he's already understood and accepted this.
Well, over here he's in a completely different place.
Totally.
By here it's a different place.
Just to hear Hashem believe in him.
So wait a second, this is it. There was a bat mitzvah girl. I had an amazing, I meet with all the bar and bat mitzvah kids here, and yesterday Chaim David's daughter, she's turning bat mitzvah tonight. She's gewalt, this girl. So they came to meet with me yesterday, and what came up from the whole Inyan of like sitting with her was that, and I knew her grandmother, Batia's mother, Chaim's mother-in-law, Masha Fagel took care. She was a big tzaddikus. She was nifter a few years ago. She used to come to all the shiurim. She was very sick. She used to come here, mamish, filled with pills, popping pill after pill. She had cancer. She was in such a, it's very sad, but she was a big Bala Simona. Like amazing Bala Simona. She had a profound impact on me. She really did. She was learning with me from the early days here. And her whole Indian was that understanding anything regarding Torah and mitzvahs, there's a prerequisite. What's the prerequisite? That if Hashem did not believe in you, He wouldn't give you something that you're not able to accomplish. God's not cruel. God's not cruel. Hashem gives you something only because He believes that you have it, that you could do it. That's the tenet of faith. That's what was coming up yesterday with our bat mitzvah talk, and it really connects to what you just said right now, because now, Reb Shlomo is going to say basically the same thing in his own language. So again, third paragraph. And we'll end with this third paragraph, even though this is much longer, but you should see it by yourself. Zo הקדושה של משה רבנו, הקדושה של מנהיג שהפך לחופשי. וזה היה השיעור האחרון שהיה עליו ללמד אותנו לפני שקיבלנו את התורה. Moshe Rabbeinu had to give one more shmooze before we received the Torah. He had to give over one last teaching. What was the last teaching Moshe Rabbeinu had to give over? It's the Pasuk, Vayotze Moshe, that he pulled them out of what? Hashichru mitrachesh, being free, occurs, כשאני חופשי לחשוב, when I'm free enough to think, שלא רק כל מי שסביבי הוא קודש קודשים, that not only is everyone around me the Holy of Holies, אלא גם אני. I am too. אם לא תלמד זאת, אל תטרח להגיע להר סיני. If you didn't learn that, don't bother coming to Har Sinai. Har Sinai is not for you. Theology is for you. Jewish history in the academia, that's for you. Not this. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm yours. Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mi Beit Avadim. That's the whole thing. And Moshe Rabbeinu was preparing them to hear the first, it's like such a beautiful connection of this last shmooze that Moshe Rabbeinu was giving before we received the Torah, and then Hashem starting to speak to us at Har Sinai. And if Am Yisrael, now when we say like you should feel like you're also Kodesh Kodashim, so everyone has the shaila, well how do you reach a place of anava or bittul if you're supposed to think that you're Kodesh Kodashim? Do you think bittul means that you come to the conclusion that you're a Rasha Merusha? Do you think bittul and anava means that Hashem wants you to realize how filthy you are and point out the good things in other people? Rabbi Nachman knew that this would be a fear. And therefore, Rabbi Nachman in Azamra, after he begins talking about everyone else's, finding the nekudot tovot in other places, he basically says, listen, brother, if you can't do this in yourself, don't think you could really see good nekudos in other people. You can't. So this Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu telling Am Yisrael right before Har Sinai, I know why you're staying in your room. You're staying in your room because of like elementary school anava, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, I was there. You guys staying in your tents and not showing up at the Har right now, that's like me at the burning bush telling God, so many people here are so much holier than me, they're Kodesh Kodashim, have them do it. But Hashem revealed to me that He believed in me so much that I could become a free person. But the only prerequisite is that I have to believe that I'm made from Kodesh Kodashim. And that's what I'm telling you guys as well. I know your holiness is coming from a place of thinking that everyone else is holy. And it's Gewalt. It's beautiful. But that's not for, that's still a limiting way of viewing Hashem and the world. Har Sinai is about freedom, it's about cherut, to soar in the places of imagination of who we could be and who we already really are. So I give us a bracha today, right now. Things that seem impossible for us to become. Elements of our character, stages in our life, all those things that based on our measurements based on our measurements and calculations, should have a Yetzias Mitzrayim out of Beit Avadim this Shabbos, this week, in the schus of the Torah that we just learned today. B'ezrat Hashem. Shkoyach, everybody.